Hello everybody, this is Bill. I'm back with week 6 with NCAA football 11 explanations. I am at week 6, and as you can see right there, up in the top left corner of the TV, I am at number 3 in the nation now, which I have the polls written down from last for this week. Number 1 is Ole Miss still, and I will show you the polls as well right now as I'm talking about it. See, Ole Miss is number 1, Minnesota is now number 2, number 3 is the Memphis Tigers, USC Trojans number 4, Ohio State is number 5, though if I'm thinking correctly, I beat them at the beginning of this season. Nope. Excuse me there. Just ate dinner, so any burping happens, excuse me for that. Michigan State's number 6. Oklahoma is number 7. LSU jumps up to number 8. Number 9 is Boise State. Number 10 is Cincinnati. 11 is Georgia. 12 is Florida State. Number 13 is Michigan. Number 14 is Oregon State. The only reason why they're up is because of them upsetting a couple of teams to actually move up. And as you can see, they weren't even ranked last week, so for them to be unranked and jumping up all the way to 14 is pretty good. Same with Texas Tech, they jump up to number 15. And as you can see, their team nickname is the Red Raiders. Yeah, sorry everybody. Also, seasons are changing and causing me to be a little clogged up. Miami falls down 1 to number 16. West Virginia is 17. Arkansas is number 18, even though they lost, which I will get into my predictions from last week later. Alabama is up to number 19. 20 is Vanderbilt. 21st is TCU. Number 22 is the Syracuse Orange, which in real life they had actually just upsetted number 2 Clemson. So, kind of figured this kind of weird actually recording this a couple of days after that. Well, it was like a week ago, but still. South Carolina is number 23. Georgia Tech is number 24. And number 25 is the Florida Gators. As you can see, some of the other teams that received votes are Oregon, Boston College, who fell out, Wisconsin, Clemson, which, like I said, they were just upset by Syracuse in real life, Missouri, Utah, Pittsburgh, which both Utah and Pittsburgh had dropped out, Stanford, and Penn State. The teams that dropped out were Notre Dame, and they were number 5 in the nation. So, wow, they took a big drop. Then it's Utah, Washington, Pittsburgh, as I just mentioned, both of them received votes as well. Oregon also dropped out, I didn't notice that. Boston College, them I noticed, and also Virginia Tech. As for the media, Ole Miss took my number 1 spot, so I'm a little upset. Then after me, like I said, they took my number 1 spot. They jumped over me, probably because of them playing in the SEC. Next is Michigan State. Now, of course, you see them having number 6 on the side there. That's because of them being number 6 in the coaches poll. And also, right now I'm holding this with my hand, so adjusting and wiggling all over the place. I am sorry for that. Minnesota is number 4 in the media. USC is number 5. LSU is number 6. Ohio State 7. Number 8 is Texas Tech. Number 9 is Oklahoma. If this just jumped down real quick. Number 10 is Cincinnati. Number 11 is Boise State. 12 is Oregon State. Number 13 is Arkansas. 14th Florida State. 15th is Georgia. 16th is Michigan. 17th West Virginia. Alabama is 18th. 19th is Vanderbilt. 20 is TCU. 21st is Georgia Tech. 22 is Miami. 23 is South Carolina. 24 is Syracuse. And 25 is Boston College. Even though they are not in the coaches, they are still in the media polls. And other teams receiving votes are Clemson, Florida, Wisconsin, Pittsburgh, Missouri, and Missouri. As you can see, Notre Dame dropped out, so Washington, Utah, Pittsburgh, Virginia Tech, and Oregon. Those are the top 25. Now let me just get this back to my team color. There we go. I don't know why it does that on here. Whichever team was last selected, it stays that color. And now it's time for my bottom 10 for the week. Starting off is New Mexico State, and I will show you their stats right now if my controller will just let me do that. Here we go, team stats. Yeah, let me just go to the conference that they're in, which I think they're in the Sun Belt, I believe. No, they're in the WAC, which is sometimes out of WAC. Now, of course, you see them having over 1,000 total yards and just barely 1,000 yards on offense. But when you score 6 points per game and your own 4, there we are. My bad. I'm looking up at the screen on the TV while looking at the camera phone. When you're only scoring 6 points per game, 6 points per game is not going to win you anything, really. And on defense, they have allowed over 2,000 total yards and 161 points. So yeah. Next we have Colorado in 5, as I will show you the offensive stats for them. Now this was back when the Big 12 was still big and had 12 members. They're in the bottom half of the Big 12 North. Of course, they're scoring 13.2 points per game, which is not actually all that bad. But 110 points is the most out of the Big 12 North, and Texas, as you can see, is one of 4. They've only allowed more. Silly me. And the next team is in the same conference as Ole Miss, and that is Kentucky. Now, of course, you may question why I have Kentucky. I mean, I have Kentucky in because they are 0-4 right now, 0-3 in conference play. And when you're 0-3 and... Oh, hold on. I just adjusted the zoom, so forgive me. It's the first time I'm doing this on this phone, so... that's a little bit better. If I can just stop shaking the screen. Of course, they have for 1,000 yards, but comparing it to Ole Miss is just over 3,000 yards and 21 points per game. It's actually on the bottom half of the conference. And defensive wise, they have allowed the most yards and the second most points compared to Alabama. Then again, I faced against Alabama, and as I told you on the last video, I play with my sliders all the way up, computers all the way down on the easiest difficulty. Sorry about that. Now, number 4 is a team that I know is in the Sun Belt. That's Louisiana Monroe. As you can see, only just over 1,000 total yards, just under 700 yards of total offense, 9 points per game, no passing touchdowns. Like, seriously. Last week I gave them a bye, on this as an honorable mention because of there needing to be a 3-game minimum to be on my bottom 10. And you can see they are 0-3, they are at the minimum, so they have met the requirements, sadly. And defense, oh, that's Lafayette. I mean, they have allowed over 1,300 yards and 86 points, which, you know, it isn't all that bad, actually. Considering that North Texas and Western Kentucky, who is actually my number 5 team, luckily we can just get to them now. As you can see, as Louisiana Monroe is not on the top half of the team's points list. On how many teams are in the Sun Belt? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, they are not on the top half. Forgive me, I'm doing this video as I go, so if I count how many teams are there, forgive me. But Western Kentucky, as you can see, has allowed almost 2,000 yards on defense, allowed 122 points, and on their side of the ball, well, not even 1,000 total offensive yards, and they just barely score a point more than Louisiana Monroe. And now, let's get out of the Sun Belt real quick and go to Conference USA, the conference I am in, and talk about UTEP, the UTEP Miners, who are, as you can see, 0-4. Just under 1,000 offensive yards, which is the lowest in the league. Even Rice has more than them. Even though they have less points than Rice at 13.2, still, when everybody else in the conference, even 3 teams that are 0-4 have more yards than you, I say that's a good deserving to be on this list. And defensively, as you can see my stats, negative 579 total defensive yards. I've only allowed 6 points, but that's because of a big play. 71 sacks, 20 fumbles, 51 interceptions. But this ain't about me right now. This is about UTEP, who have allowed 136 points, which is the second most in the nation. Well, the second most points in the conference compared to SMU. Then again, I smothered SMU. So, and we'll stick with Conference USA right now at ECU, or as I call them this week, we see you win, because of the fact that they have allowed 128 points. They haven't recovered a fumble. They only have 1 interception. They have allowed 1,500 total yards. And on offense, as I have mentioned before, I mean, they're one of the winless teams that are ahead of UTEP in total offensive yards. But they score 8.5 points per game and no rushing touchdowns. In the number 8 spot, we're going back to the Big 10, not Big 10, Big 12, with Texas, which, yeah, they have a win, but, wrong thing to do, but that lone win came against UTEP. So, I mean, they even haven't reached positive rushing yards or rushing touchdowns. And their defense, yeah, you can just look at those numbers right there. No fumbles, only 2 interceptions, 5 sacks, allowed over 300 points. And now the number 9 team on this list will head back to the Conference USA. And we'll talk about Rice, as I like to call them this week, cooked rice. Because, yeah, I mean, they have about 10 points per game at 9.7. But their defense, which I think that's the reason why I called them cooked rice. Yeah, 1,000 yards passing and allowed 117 points. Let me see if I have them on. Yep, I have them on my schedule, so, yes. I'm probably going to be doubling whatever their point total will be at that time. And number 10, as we will head off to the MAC, and doesn't matter which way I go, we'll make it there anyway, is Eastern Michigan, who are 0-4, 0-2 in their conference. Less than 800 total yards, 6 points per game, not even a touchdown up on the board. Like, seriously. If they don't score a touchdown, I'm bumping them all the way up to number 1. Unless, well, I'll bump them up into the top 3. Because I have a couple of one-win teams that don't really deserve to be this high. And they have the worst defense in the MAC, allowing 105 points. And that's my bottom 10. Some honorable mentions are Buffalo, San Jose State, Wisconsin, Tulsa, Army, and Miami of Ohio. And now it's time for my 5 key matchups for the week. Last week, my record was, when it came to my key games, I can just find them. There we are. My record was 3-2. The games record when it came to the predictions were 3.5 and 1.5, because 2 of them had gone, because one of them had picked the other team. And I meant to put the poll record on here, but I forgot to look at that before I made this, so that's my apologies for how y'all are doing. So, sorry about that. And now, here we go. My 5 games for the week. We're starting in Conference USA, which, like I said, I get my bottom 10 name off of ESPN. And I picked this game because it is the pillow fight of the week, as they like to call it. He likes to call it, which is UTEP, which is ECU versus UTEP. Kirk Herbstreit is going with ECU, while Lee Corso is going with Rice. I mean, the stats are kind of split. Rating-wise, I can see why Kirk picked ECU, but stat-wise, it's kind of right down the middle. But I picked UTEP to actually come out in this game. My next game is not in the Big Ten yet, but it's in the Big 12. Missouri versus Baylor. Battle of undefeated teams in the Big 12. Tell the truth, I actually wanted to user this game because both of these teams have guys I am wanting to recruit, but I can't because either way, one of them is going to be going on top. And this time they're split again, with Lee Corso going with Missouri and Baylor going against Lee Corso going with Baylor. I mean, stat-wise, I can understand why. I mean, I'm going with Baylor as well. because of the fact, look at that, 12th in the nation in points per game. A number 3 in the nation in rushing defense. And now, let's go back to the Big Ten for my next game, which is 1-2 Wisconsin against 1-2 Michigan at number 13. Both of them are picking Michigan, but I'm actually picking Wisconsin to pull off the upset here. Now, yeah, sure, all stats point to Michigan winning, but I'd say Wisconsin can bounce back. I mean, they've won one game already. Sorry about that. Yeah. But I feel like they can get on a roll in conference play. My next game is an SEC matchup, and it's also a top 25 matchup, as it is between, and I just passed it, Georgia and Alabama, with Georgia being 3-1 and Alabama being 1-2. And again, it's split, with Kirk going with Georgia and Lee going with Alabama. For me, I know this may upset a few of my friends that are Georgia fans, but I'm picking with Alabama because, I mean, yeah, sure, they had that one conference loss against Arkansas, and their only one is against Western Kentucky. But I feel like they can bounce back and win it. And then my last game of the week is also in the Big 12. And it's a pretty known rivalry, too, across college football. The Red River rivalry between Texas and Oklahoma. Excuse me. Both of them are saying Oklahoma, and they have the number 1 corner in the league coming to visit, along with the number 2, who right outside linebacker visiting, and that's just 2 out of the 34 total prospects that they have coming to visit. But I'm actually picking Texas to win in this one, because they have that one win. I mean, sure, it's against UTEP, but I feel like they can bounce back and win it. And now I'm introducing this one as well. My game of the week, my team's game for the week, which as you can see is right there at the top, because they show you the user games on top in case you go to this menu. That way you can be like, hey, here's your game, select it. It's me going against UCF at home with 10 total prospects visiting. As you can see, I am number 1 in the nation in everything: points per game, total offense, rush offense, pass offense, total defense, rush defense, pass defense, turnover difference. So of course both of them are going with me, but I'm not here to predict the game because I know I'm going to win because of my sliders, and I'm going to predict I'm going to win this one 231-0. Now, as I'm going to do, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to upload this on YouTube when I get the chance to, and I will put this on a laptop or a desktop and put the polls up here. Let me move up right there where the eye is going to be at. And I will see y'all later. Goodbye.